Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Chat with Chet. I'm Chet. Thanks for joining us. So, in this edition 13, we're going to continue our exploration into features of disguise that aren't well documented or often talked about. This one in particular is one that you really have to contact Disguise to figure out how it works because the documentation doesn't actually exist for it, at least in the manual. So today we are looking into the rename table. And the rename table came from theater, and it was a request to be able to deal with pre-recorded footage in a live performance. Specifically, if you have a video of an actor or an actress performing on stage, well, what happens if that actor or actress is not available for one of the performances? Obviously, that's a problem. So there needs to be a way to handle it. And you could go through and manually change all of the media, but that becomes quite a bear. And so we'll look at how Disguise has put that together. So to start with, let's look at some assets that I've built for this. So over here, we have this folder of content. And let me go ahead and I'm going to throw all of these into a pre-show folder after we get done talking about it. But what we have are a series of headshots. So this is for character one being played by Blue Lead, who will be their main performer. This is going to be our default template for when we program it. And then there's also going to be an understudy for each position. In this case, blue will be understudied by red. And there is a swing. So in theatrical terms, an understudy is someone who follows just one role, as opposed to a swing who will swing into multiple roles. So what we have are a main performer, an understudy for each of the two characters we're doing, and then a swing that can play either character, just to demonstrate how all of that works and to see how it's all set up. So we got the violet swing, and then character two, this is our default. We've got the green lead, the violet swing, and the yellow understudy this time. So I'm actually doing something a little bit wrong and something that I would not suggest that you do, but just gave me a few more options to play with. And that is making character two not default to the actor playing it. Ideally, what I should do is actually not have this at all and have a duplicate of the file for green lead as the character two. But we've got that. We also have, and we can drag these in now, right like that. Scene one is going to be character one alone. We decided it's going to be a moon scene. By we, I mean I. So you can see here, here's character one as blue. Scene two will be a different moon scene, but this time starring character two. So here's the placeholder when it pops up. Placeholder, green, swing, yellow. And the last one is the one that is very interesting to me, and one that I've purposely done something wrong so that we'll see it partway through what happens when we fail. And so this one is, here is the default, or here is both leads on, blue lead, green lead, and then there's every itineration of that. So the understudy on with both the lead and the understudy and the swing on with the lead and the understudy, the swing on over here with the lead and the understudy. So there's a lot of interwoven paths. And the big trick that we're using here, the rename table, is just a lookup table. It's going to be a list of characters and a list of actors, and we'll replace the character with whoever is assigned to be the actor. So you can see in the file name of each of these, Scene 3 equals blue lead equals green lead. Scene 3 equals blue lead equals violet swing. what we're doing there is labeling out and giving a unique modifier for each one. And what we'll actually program into the timeline is scene3 equals character 1 equals character 2. And the rename table will let us auto replace that. So let's go ahead. I'm going to open up D3 Manager. I'm going to make a new project. That new project will be chat with chet 13. Right, like that. So there's one thing that you have to do to make sure that the rename table will work, and that's turn it on in the advanced options for the project. So here's the advanced project settings menu. If you didn't see how I get there, we right click on the folder and we choose advanced project settings. I think, no, you can't do that from clicking on a show file. You have to click on the folder, which is something that's a little bit tricky and you just have to keep in mind. So in this case, we have a bunch of different options. Some of the standard ones. Enable NDI is an old one. Enable proof of play. We looked at all of this last week. So what we're going to do is make a new one because this one doesn't actually exist in any of these. At least I did not see it when I was digging for it. I'm doing another real quick check to see if I just missed it. Does not seem to be. So what we're going to do is in any of these, it doesn't matter. We'll open up a new field and we'll type in is rename table enabled. And you see it dropped into the settings tab because that's where it actually lives. And what we're going to do is click that on and click save. Right like that. And now let's go ahead and let's go into this project. Oh, we have a couple things to do here first. Open the project folder. So we've got the pieces set up. I'm going to make the last piece we need, which we're going to make a new folder in our objects folder called table. And see, there's nothing there currently, but if we open Notepad, we can save what we need. Equals character 1 equals character 2. Let's go ahead and file, save as. What you name this doesn't matter. You can see that's where I was testing it earlier today. But we're going to name it, what I do with this often just to keep myself straight is name this as search. So I'm looking for these. You could also name this as character and the other one is actor. Again, it doesn't matter. I like search, so we'll save that there. Character 1 and character 2. And now equals blue lead equals green lead equals red understudy equals yellow understudy equals violet swing. So here are all of the actors I have in my show. Blue, green, red, yellow, violet. And we'll go ahead and we'll save this as, that was search, so we'll name this replace. And save. So that's the last piece we need there to prep that. Though we don't have any of our content into the show yet, so we'll hop into the video file folder. And we'll just minimize these for a moment. Copy. Paste. So now I've got my rename table content. And let's bounce into the project itself. You'll have to excuse my laptop. We're about to do a reset with it to just bring everything off because it's starting to get slower and slower. So that's my project for later this week, which I'm not super thrilled about, but will be fine. Go ahead and there we go. It's going to get angry with me because Just trying to open 2 instances of D3, so there'll be a pop-up when we quit out. Great. So everything's loading up just fine. Running in windowed so you can see what's happening. Great. So go ahead, Control M, shut that off. We'll move puck out of the way just like we always do. And I'm also going to understage, because we don't need it, pull my projector out of the way. So now I'm going to program this as I would a show. Make a new video. And so I'm going to build a couple sections for this. The first section, oh, there we go. Finish initializing everything. There we go. So the first section is going to be those headshots that we looked at. So this is something I picked up from looking at Peter's shows. I don't know if other designers do this the same way, but that's what I've found that I really like, is putting a headshot of all of the performers that will be on that day on stage so that you can get a sign off with the stage manager and make sure that everything's okay. So our first one is going to be headshot of character 1 equals character 1. And you can see, obviously, that's way too big. So the other thing we're going to do is come down here under Move, scale that down to a much smaller size, and we'll take its position over here. Then we'll go ahead and we will duplicate that, swap it out to be the headshot of character 2 equals character 2. And we'll just move the position opposite of that. So now you can see character 1 playing character 1, character 2 playing character 2. Next up, new video. We'll make scene 1. Scene 1 equals character 1, right like that. Perfect. Scene 2. Video. Scene 2 equals character 2, right like that. And then scene 3, one more video. Scene 3 equals character 1 equals character 2. And we'll go ahead and we'll turn on universal crossfade just to make this pretty if we decide to actually run it like a show. 2 seconds. Great. So what we have here is character 1, character 2. Our first scene over here, character 1 by themselves. Our second scene, character 2 over here by themselves. And our third scene over here, character 1, character 2. So you can see this is not how I would approach this, because what I would do is I would actually make this character 1 equals character 2 the same as my default. But as we see right now, we can't change this. There's nothing to be done to adjust that to the proper one. So what we're going to do is right click on D3 under here and then choose Edit Rename Table under Advanced. And now we have to dictate the search table and the replace table. So in this case, search table is search. Replace table is replace. And now if we toggle this down, you can see blue lead already popped in because it populates the folder based off of this. And I've noticed there's an issue with this every so often. I need to go through and resave the search table to pull out the second one. I just ignore these open spaces because they don't do anything. What I care about is lining this up. So by default, it pulled the first entry in the replace table into everything. Character 1 equals blue lead. Great. Character 2 is going to be green lead. And notice how this follows the order that I put together, which is why I put the leads first. You could also do that order: blue lead, red understudy, green lead, yellow understudy, swing, if you would prefer it that way and keep them closer together. Entirely point of preference. So now we have character 1 being played by blue lead, character 2 being played by green lead, and I close that, but we're actually going to go ahead and sticky this open so that we can change things live. So there we go. Let's go to scene 1, and you can see there's our blue lead there. Scene 2, green lead, and scene 3, blue and green leads, just like we'd expect. Now we can swap these out by just replacing what's assigned here. I can put the red understudy on, and it swaps out to the red understudy video. Or the swing can go on, and the swing will pop in there as well. So let's go ahead and let's just put the red understudy on stage. See, it doesn't affect scene 2 because obviously scene 2 is just the green understudy. Doesn't matter. Scene 3, look, the red understudy's on stage. And so now we can swap this out. We can go to the yellow understudy, red and yellow are together, and we can actually swap these out. Oh, you being grumpy? There we go. We could put the violet swing on, just like that. One thing we can't do is try and put, say, violet swing on for both of these, and this is where we fail back to the equals character 1 equals character 2. So if you can't find a name, you will drop down to this. And what I want to show you is the one that is incorrectly named, which is violet swing and green lead. Notice how nothing changed. Well, let's go ahead and let's take a look in our video file folder. Under scene 3, equals blue lead equals green lead. Perfect. Equals blue lead equals violet swing equals blue lead equals yellow understudy. This takes care of everything with the blue as the first. This is the one that's failing, equals green lead equals violet understudy. And the reason why that's failing is because the design of this is actually equals character 1 equals character 2. This is equals character 2 equals character 1. Ergo, it will never work. And to fix that, we'll just come ahead and resize you. Can I resize you down? There we go. And go to our desktop where I just conveniently saved scene 3 equals violet swing equals green lead. And we will drag and drop that into our folder here. It will pop in. And now if we go back to D3, you see it detected exactly how I wanted it to. So the yellow understudy could go on instead, exactly like we'd expect. So this is what we want. This is exactly what we're looking for. We now can swap out any of the characters with any of the actors who actually study that track. Note it took a bit to set that up. I had to sit and make all of these wonderful, wonderful stick figure drawings this morning as I was prepping for this lecture. So you can't just magically make it happen. You have to spend the time to prep assets and also to check the assets. I definitely had a couple misnamed assets. I named the violet swing, the violet understudy for one, and that won't work because that's not part of the rename table. The other thing to watch out for is you need to not have a string contained by another string. So if you have, say, a Vi actor or a Vi character and a violet, those will interfere because they register as contained in the same character. So that's why you have to be a little bit careful about how you're going to name all of this. I know some people have experimented with, you don't necessarily need to start with the equals. You can use different punctuation marks that may help. So I know some people have been experimenting with that and happy with it. So this works really great for replacing characters in a performance. Are there other ways that we could go about this? Yes, in fact, there are. And one of my favorites that I've always thought about, and I didn't build anything up for it, but it's mostly just a thought exercise, look at doing something like an esports tournament, and you have a bracket. 8 teams deduct to 2 teams, deduct to 1 team, being able to throw up who's playing what. You could actually build that with background templates and using this same procedure. and just put dummy information in until you know who it's going to be, and then replace it in the rename table. You can't rewrite the rename table while D3 is running. It won't reload the table. So you'll have to quit out and come back in if you want to add an option, but you could give yourself dummy options. You could also, in something like that, it's easy enough to do places 1 through, or seeds 1 through 8, and then round 2, seeds 1 through 4. You can build it out that way and take care of all of it. And so there's multiple ways to handle it. These are just some options for it. So that is the rename table. Oh, I can't quit out because, oh, yeah, that worked. I was surprised by that. The rename table is really handy and can get a lot of stuff done. It's a weird workflow, but once you wrap your head around it, excuse me, I have to sneeze really bad, apparently. Allergies are acting up little by little. So it allows a lot of flexibility, and while operating a show, to give you a way that is very user-friendly and very fire and forget to change everything. And so that's why I really like the rename table and think it's a very useful addition. That being said, just got to spend some time working with it, making sure your workflow is good. Note how I had to have those tags. What I've sometimes done programming shows that will later get renamed table is I will program the show with just content named scene 1, scene 2, however you're naming all of it. And then once I get the pieces for the rename table, I'll spend time to go relink everything to the base file, and then secondarily go through and replace the base file with, and make sure that all the replacements work for whatever I'm given. Usually pretty easy if there's just one actor, actress, and understudy, but for something like the 2-person scene or a 3-person scene or a 4-person scene, it starts to add up and you really start to notice it. So just make sure that you give yourself some time, but I'm glad that this could be put together so that there's a guide for it. D3 also has a guide I have done for it back in the past, which is one of my favorite things I did because it has pictures of a puppy in it. I avoided that one because it didn't go into what to do with 2 actors, so I really wanted to sit down and make a better guide that has that piece in it as well. Anyway, thank you for joining all of us today. Bit of a shorter cast, but we'll be back next week looking at more features, and I hope you all have a great time. Goodbye.